Okay, so now that we know about variables, let's actually start using some math. So I could just write out 10 plus 10 and do my little semicolon there, and I could actually hit play and run on this. So there's nothing being printed out. What's basically happening is the computer is loading up this script, it's adding 10 to 10, and then it's closing. So that's not very useful, right? It's just the computer's doing math on its own, but it's not giving us anything. So usually you're going to store the sum of two numbers in a result. So what we're going to do is we're going to declare a variable, and I'm going to call this variable results equals, oh, I don't know what it is equals yet, so I'm just going to do semicolon. And then let's say result. Now I want to say what result is, so I'm going to say equals. Now before we just did something like 10, right? So we're saying result is equal to 10. But what we can do is we can do 10 plus, let's say 5. So now result is going to equal 15. So we've just done some addition here, and we've set it equal to result, or set result equal to those two numbers. So that's pretty handy. We can also do minus, we can do multiply, so that's 10 times 5, and we can do division, which is 10 divided by 5. So you're going to use those symbols. You're going to use the plus, the minus, the star sign, which is a multiplication, and the forward slash, which is division. So you can divide any two numbers. You can do 10 and 5, you can multiply, maybe negative 23 and 5, 2, right? You can just change either side of this argument, and you can also change what you're doing. Fairly straightforward there. So now if we click play and run, what is minus 23 minus 2? If we click play, we are again not going to get anything. So now we've said, hey, there's this variable called result. We said result is equal to minus 23, subtract 2, and then we just close the program. So again, we're not seeing anything. So if we want to actually see what this result is, we can just print it out. So let's do a console.log, and let's log results. So this was technically stored somewhere on your computer, but you just can't see it. So what this is doing is it's saying, hey, pull up that value and print it out to the screen so I can see what the result was. So now when we run it, we should get minus 25. There we go. And that would work with whatever type of operations you did there. So this is just playing around with some math. So it is very simple, but let's make it a bit more interesting. Let's actually do kind of a little example. Let's say we want to deal with age. So we say let age equal, let's say the person is starting out at 10 years old. So before we did result, but it doesn't have to be a result. You can store the sum of two numbers in any variable name. So here I want to use age because that's what we're doing. So let age equals 10, and now I can do age plus 1. Right, so I'm saying age is equal to 10, 10 plus 1. Now if I click play, this isn't going to print out, it's not going to do anything. So what I want to do is I want to say console.log age. So let's run that, let's see what we get. So we got the number 10. So it technically didn't ignore this. What it did is it said let age equals 10. So this age is now stored as the number 10. And then we just kind of threw this out in space. We said, hey, we just want to add 1 to age. And then we said, let's print out age. So in the computer's mind, age is still equal to 10. So in order to make it equal to 11, we're going to have to change this a bit. We're going to have to say age equals age plus 1. So we're kind of updating line 1. We're saying age is no longer equal to 10. Age is equal to whatever age plus 1 is. So we're saying age is equal to 10 plus 1, which is 11, which is going to give us that result down here. So the cool thing about that is you could just keep doing that over and over. And let's change it up a bit, maybe minus 1, and then maybe times 5. That's the great thing about coding is even if you're not good at math, the computer does it for you. It's basically like a really big calculator. So let's figure out what that is, and that is 50. So we've basically said age equals age plus 1, so we've got 11, minus 1 is 10, so 10 times 5 is 50, and we printed out 50. It's very good. That all worked okay. So we're kind of updating it. Each line is getting updated. But you could actually print out age at every stage, right? You could say print age there, and let's do it there as well, and maybe up here just for good measure. So now we're just printing out age at these different points in the code, right? Because code is starting at line 1 and it's just going to go down. So now we're going to get a whole bunch of numbers. We're going to get 10, 11, 10, and 50, right? So at each stage, it's printing out what the result currently is, or what that variable age is currently set to. So that's what's going on there. But there is a nicer way to write the equals plus 1. So rather than doing age equals age plus 1, we can do age plus equals 1. So that is the same thing as what we had before. We're saying we want to add 1 to age, but this time we want to also save it to the variable. So that's going to give us 11 down here. Just as we'd expect, you could also minus equals 1. Whoops. So minus equals 1 is going to give us 9 down there. And I could even do, I can change out the number, so it doesn't have to be 1. I could say minus equals 6, maybe plus equals 6, whatever you want, right? You could even do a negative number. So negative 54, something like that. So it's going to add 54 to 10, which should give it, what would that be? Negative 44, I think. Exactly. So we got negative 44 there. So it's normal math, right? It's not any new rules. You're just writing out how you would do math. So if you add negative 54 to 10, it's going to give you negative 44. Now we could also do multiplication with this plus equals. So instead of the plus, let's just do times equals. So age times equals 10 is going to be 10 times 10. And it's going to restore that result, which is 100 inside of age. So then when we print it out, we're going to get 100. So we're just kind of playing around with variables here. We're just adding and subtracting. And what we're doing here is we're not only adding, subtracting, multiplying, and that, but we're also saying whatever the total is from that operation, we want to just keep updating the variable. So keep saving it to age, right? Because if we just did age times 10, we're saying age is 10, age times 10, but down here at line 6, it doesn't recognize line 4. It's still going to see age as 10. So let's just run that, and you'd get 10. Okay, so we've got that. We've got some addition, some subtraction. Now let's do concatenation. So what if we wanted to actually print out a message saying age, right? So if we scroll up here, we've got all these random numbers that are just the result of us tinkering around. So the user is not going to know what these numbers mean. So normally when you do a console log with a number, you're going to want to say what that number is. So I'm going to actually add a string to the age. So I'm going to say my age is, let's put a space there for neatness, plus age. So this is cool. We're actually adding a sentence onto a number, right? So let's fix this here. Let's say age plus equals 1. So let's say we're just adding an age every time. So we're going to say my age is plus the number. Does that make sense? So let's run that down here. And now we can see we have a little bit more useful information. So we know what we're doing here. We know what the number 11 means, even though we can't see how we got to that number. So just a neat little way to add strings together. Let's say we had different names every time. So let's say we had another variable called my name. And let's just set that equal to Andrew and semicolon. I can hit the right key there. So now instead of my age, let's add my name, the variable. So we can say my name plus age is plus age. Let's actually add an apostrophe S. So that's going to kind of tack on that to my name, which is Andrew. So you'll see how that's going to work in a second. So it says Andrew's age is 11. And then if I keep adding that plus 1 every time, right, it's going to give me, what is that, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it should give me 14 at the end of that. There we go. So you can see, even though this message hasn't changed, it's kind of just taking in those variables. And after all the math is done, it's going to give us a nice little message. So that's just a way that you can add and subtract, multiply, divide, just basic math operations. And you can also add numbers to strings to do a kind of a nice little message at the end, which is just called concatenation. So we'll leave it there for now and go on to the next video.